Good eye, mates. I woke up at 1:30 for no reason this morning. So, somebody has to pay. And I thought, you know what? I've not done a video on a topic that I wanted to talk about for a wee while now. And it's a baffling enigma that I can't wrap my head around. And I'm finally going to talk about it. I'm finally going to have a bit of a powwow with the issue, which is the issue of Nazi Doctor Who fans. Now, this is a baffling concept to me. I don't quite get it. People who hate various demographics of people for their simple existence, who love or loved the show Doctor Who. Because in concept, Doctor Who is about a pacifist space time traveler who basically fights evil, fights fascism, fights oppression. His enemies are literal space Nazis. And the dude is dedicated to fighting any form of hatred and bigotry that he can find across time and space. But for some reason, there are a lot of fucking Nazis in the fan base, and I don't understand. I don't understand. When would this show ever for them? When did they get anything out of it? I don't quite understand. So this guy's going to talk about the Star Beast. Now, I watched his review on Flux by proxy, and I watched a few of his other videos as well about Ncuti Gatwa being Doctor Who, and apparently that's written off the Russell T Davies era, the second one. And as a result, this guy is now making this crap because he's legit offended at pretty much everything, but then he'll say that everyone else is offended. So far, he's established that he hated Jodie Whittaker's era, which he's not alone in that, but his reasons are just... He wants to say that it's because of the colour and the preferences of the people on screen, rather than, you know, something that's actually a problem with the show on some level. So... And he doesn't want to be openly racist, but he can't help it. So I'm gonna watch his review of the Star Beast, and I'm gonna talk about, because I watched it, so I can talk about what I think about his opinions on it. This will be very enlightening and good.
I wasn't gonna watch this crap, but then when all
He's been saying that for 5 years. Right off the bat, he's already talking shit. He's like, I wasn't going to watch this crap. Dude, you've been watching the show for years after you said you didn't want to watch it anymore. Maybe it's a me thing. But when I don't like a show anymore, I don't watch it. Like, maybe I'll make a video like this, like my Tekken 7 video, where I'll say, this installment is crap, and I'm done with it. And maybe I might change my mind and come back to it. Maybe something will happen between then and the next installment that'll make me go, you know what, I'll give it another chance, or I want to see where this goes. However, I just find it bizarre, like, that he insists on watching a show that he doesn't like. He's not unique in this. There's a Mortal Kombat streamer that I follow who's got the same problem. He will not stop playing Mortal Kombat 1, despite the fact that he said in September that he despises it. I don't get it.
the news surrounding it seemed to reach levels of stupidity not seen since the reign of Chibs the Idiot, I decided to give it a watch and
Bear in mind, this is the first episode of the new era. So I don't quite get where he's getting that from. Like, oh yeah, this is stupidity not seen since Chibnall. Okay, well, nothing's even happened yet. He's just cast David Tennant and Ncuti Gatwa as Doctor Who, and that's about it.
dear God, was this crap. We start
Okay. How much you want to bet he's not going to say why or give us a good reason?
with David Tennant giving a very wooden speech, which foreshadows his overall performance as Dr. Desperation.
I don't understand how this is a wooden speech. It wasn't any different to how... I mean, he's not showing you, But it was literally, if you've watched season like 2 to 5 David Tennant, then that is basically the performance he gave. If you like that performance, it is what you'll like. If you don't, it's just more of what you don't like. Why he suddenly decided it's bad? Oh, it's because there's more brown people on the screen, basically.
Seems he really isn't into this. It seems Donna is having dreams. Dreams about what Doctor Who was like before it started to suck.
It seems he's not really into this. That's why David Tennant has been in so much Doctor Who shit in the past, what has it been, like 15 years? He's been in so many Big Finish things, he's appeared in so many things, and has reprised his role a number of times and was in every anniversary special because he's just not into Doctor Who.
It seems Donna is sad about life. We're all sad, Donna. Current year is terrible.
Yeah, but to be fair, she's sad because she had a big chunk of her life deleted from her mind and she can't remember it. And it makes her sad because the part of her that was that person is like pushing against the surface, trying to resurface, but can't because they're trapped. You're sad because there's brown people in Doctor Who. Do you see the difference? It's a bit of a. I know it's a bit of a thing, but you gotta see the difference, man.
Dr. Desperation says he can't ever see Donna again, which will last about 2 minutes, and questions why.
It actually lasted about 15 years. The last time Donna made an actual appearance that wasn't archive footage was 2009.
He is wearing that face again. Simple, Dr. Desperation. Desperation followed by a bait and switch. And I really don't think
It wasn't desperation or bait and switch. My understanding is that Russell inherited the show and wanted to put some time into bringing the new series, the new era in. And he wanted to make an anniversary special, but he didn't want to introduce a new Doctor on the anniversary special because that would make it a mess. So what he's decided to do is use David Tennant for the anniversary stuff, also giving him a year to flesh out, Shooty Gatwa's stuff. I mean, that's my understanding of it. It makes perfectly logical sense to me. It's a smart move. He's giving people what they want for a year and then giving them something new afterwards, which he's had over a year to develop properly.
could be any more obvious that you really, really don't want to be here. Then we're back in
His performance is the same as it's always been. I don't get this.
London, as RTD only seems to be capable of repeating what he already did almost 20 years ago, except repeating it very badly.
It's set in London because the main character lives in London. What are you on about? You goddamn chode. Donna Noble is from London, which is why the episode is set in London. I could understand if he was complaining about the fact that Sheffield somehow always comes up in the Chibnall era, because he had to film every episode in Sheffield for some unwritten reason. Well, not actually, but I'm being hyperbolic. But there are a lot of episodes just randomly set in Sheffield. Aliens for 5 years just decided constantly to invade Sheffield of all places. I'd get that, but it's London, probably one of the most important cities in Europe. Like,
TARDIS lands in current year, and we run into Donna and her daughter, Rose, henceforth to be known as Tiddlywinks, the center of everything.
she's, I'd say, debatedly the third or fourth main character, depending on your perspective of things. She's not the center of everything.
Tiddlywinks makes toys. Whatever. I don't care. Then a space.
Well, you see, if you did care, you'd be paying attention to the plot because the toys are actually part of the plot. But because it's part of the trans character's arc, you don't care because you're angry.
Ship crashes and stuff blows up because this is RTD's version of clever writing. Just blow stuff up because
That is idiotic. There's a spaceship crash, and the whole point of the scene is that Donna can't see alien shit. Because if she sees alien shit, as seen in a previous episode, well established in what the fuck was the episode called? The second one with the master in. Fuck, I've got that tip of the tongue thing. um, End of Time, a scene in End of Time, just seeing John Sim in like his multiple forms. This is going to be confusing as fuck to anyone who's not watched the show. But basically, because she saw the master, she started to remember, and it basically almost killed her. So David Tennant's shitting it in this scene because a spaceship crashes into London, which I think is like I don't know how many times this has happened in the show since its revival. But the idea is that Donna can't see stuff like this because if she sees stuff like this, there's a risk she'll remember that she used to travel through time and space. If she remembers it, she will die because she had to have a memory wiped because this knowledge was killing her. It's a bit complicated, but the gist of it is that if she remembers, she dies. So seeing a spaceship is a bit of a disaster.
The plebs are stupid. Of course, Donna missed it because Donna misses everything because, again, remember, this is what happened before, plebs. Then Donna makes
I mean, it is a recurring thing with her character. It's kind of a joke, but it's also an important thing about her character that she always misses everything of importance.
fun of Dr. Desperation for wearing a tight suit over the age of 35. But then, we don't like people over 35 around here anyway. This show is just made for the cool kids. As long as you can check all the right boxes to work for the BBC, either
Okay, so he's already going on his tangent. Apparently now the BBC's ageist. Um, uh, di- what I find kind of funny about this above everything else, in the last era, John Bishop and Bradley Walsh were highly regarded characters in the show by both the show itself and the audience. So his idea that people over a certain age are rejected by the show is ridiculous.
that or RTD considers your mommy and daddy not dirty plebs. Then we meet Donna's husband and learned that she gave away all her money for reasons. You know, that money they won in the rigged lottery. We find out the reasons later, and they are reasons. The reasons you might expect. Now
Yeah, the reason I'll get to it.
they're broke, because that must be a thing. Can't be a victim if you don't force yourself to go broke, a situation that was completely avoidable. Then we go to Boom Boom Splosion Factory and
Yes, but to be fair, Donna does fucking criticize herself for being broke because she donated that money because the subconscious in her, that part of her which I was talking about earlier, which is trying to resurface, was influenced by everything she'd seen in time and space. And she realized that there are people more needy than her, so she gave all of her money away once she was living comfortably within her means. That makes sense. You might not like it as a plot point, but it makes sense. It's not bad writing. It might be writing that you disagree with, or might be writing that, but like, it isn't bad writing within of itself. It makes sense. There is a reason established in the story.
meet this lady in a wheelchair. We don't know who she is, but we know she won't be a villain because RTD said that kind of thing is no longer allowed in an effort to be not patronizing. Then we
It's admittedly, I do find that a bit silly. Admittedly, I agree on some level that Davros being in a wheelchair, I never made that link, that connection. Wheelchair equal evil because Davros was in a wheelchair, but equally, I don't think that means that no evil characters can ever be in a wheelchair. I just think it probably just means that Russell isn't comfortable doing that.
have a bunch of unit soldiers consisting of white dudes and white ladies, and I think to myself, wait, this kind of thing isn't allowable anymore. But don't worry, little ones, all will make sense shortly. Then, in a mind-blowing attempt at
I'm gonna bet that the reason why he says this is because he's like, oh, those are the people that are allowed to die. And, if they were black, they wouldn't be allowed to die, even though there are a lot of black dudes that die in, like, Doctor Who throughout all the time and space. Like, it happens all the fucking time in every season.
subtlety as Tiddlywinks and Donna are walking down the
Why does he call her Tiddlywinks? Her name's Rose. Like, it's not even like she has a crazy name. Her name is literally just Rose, which is a real name.
street. A bunch of white dudes drive by on bikes and are laughing at Tiddlywinks while calling them Jason. What is this now? Oh, RTD, you little trickster. That was as subtle as your obsession with Boom Boom Splosions as an attempt to mask your lack of creativity or even remotely being able to think of something you haven't done already. Don't you worry, Tiddlywinks. Donna's going to tell their parents and have them cancelled. Then
Okay, there's a lot to unpack from that. One, She's going to tell their parents because they are bullying her daughter. That is a more than valid reason. One of them even tells her to give them a kiss. It's funny you don't mention that part. Also, another thing that I find kind of funny. When has Russell ever done this storyline before? I've never seen this storyline before where a trans kid gets bullied for being trans. I've not seen it before. Could you point out the episode where Russell did this? Because I've not seen it before. And also, I don't understand. His only problem with this is the fact that a trans character is a victim of something for like 20 seconds. And it's kind of established that whilst their family accepts them, there are people in this world that are resistant. Which is perfectly, it makes sense. Like, it makes sense. It makes sense as an established thing. And it makes sense as to why Donna's quite protective of her, both before and after this scene. It works. I know that you don't like it because you only really would be into it if it was fucking David Walliams playing Emily Howard. But otherwise, like, I'm sorry, mate, but 2003 was 20 years ago. What do you want?
We are reintroduced to Donna's mother, and she's gone current year too. Donna tells her that Tiddlywinks is sad because white dudes. Donna's mom tells Tiddlywinks she's gorgeous, but then she feels bad because she's worried she's being sexist for calling Tiddlywinks gorgeous. Not even introduced as a joke, because jokes aren't allowed anymore. Well, unless it's
There's a dozen jokes at this point in the show. There's a joke in this scene which is actually very funny. But um, no, she's worried because she's not quite as on the ball with the whole trans thing as Donna, and she's well-meaning, but she occasionally says things, and she's checking with Donna because, and it's kind of good because you see a side of Sylvia Noble which you don't actually see in previous series. You only see it at one or two intervals where the Doctor saves her, and then Sylvia Noble's like, the Doctor says for the moment she was like the most important woman in the universe, and then Sylvia cuts him off and says she still is, she's my daughter, and that's like the closest we ever got. So Sylvia's character is different. She's still the same character, but she's grown a lot in the past 15 or so years. By the way, that's one of my major gripes with this episode. I do not believe Rose is 15. I'm sorry, she's played by a 20-year-old actress. And I don't buy it for a second that she's 15. She's way too old.
directed at white dudes, then we get to sit through a conversation on current yearisms and get
By the way, if there's anything I'm missing, I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember a lot whilst talking, and it's not my strong suit.
reminded of how awesome Tiddlywinks is. Then Donna reminds us that she's sad. There. Anybody watching this is sad too, Donna. Then Tiddlywinks.
Yes, but you're sad because there's a trans character on the screen. She's sad because she can't remember years of her life. And all her family are keeping it secret from her. And she knows this. And she knows that everything changed one day and she doesn't quite know why. I like as well that Donna's still like the person she was when she had a memory wiped. Like when she first lost her memory, she went back to being how she was in The Runaway Bride, where she was obsessed with stupid shit that didn't matter and she was gobby and a bitch and all sorts. But then over the past 15 years, partly because of Rose and partly because of everything else, she actually has regrown into the person she was. I appreciate that. It says a lot about her character. Donna is actually one of the strongest characters, and she's also one of the most beloved by female audience members because they relate to her the most, and she's also quite a strong character within of herself. I really like Donna as a character.
Is putting stuff in the bin, which really is where this show should be by this point. Then Tiddlywinks
Yeah, that's like the height of the criticism.
talks to this annoying, hyperactive kid whose gender I dare not assume, and then
You you couldn't even just say that he was short round. Like that was the that was the first joke I thought of. I was like, oh no, it's short round because of the red cap. But like, yeah.
we're introduced to whatever the hell this is supposed to be as 2005 looks at the current effects department with shame. Definitely check
The meat looks fine. It's at the very least on par with. It was an actual puppet. You see, I'm not sure anyone can win in this day and age, but this was actually a puppet used in the thing, and it was on par with Gremlins or oh, what was that other one that's like uh But you know that kind of thing. It was that kind of quality that people like. Now it's television, so yeah, I can understand people saying I wasn't 100% convinced by the effect. That's fine. But it wasn't a shitty CGI puppet. There was actually a puppet on set that actually was designed. Maybe it was CGI in some shots and scenes, but it was a nice blend of visual effects, both digital and practical, which made this creature pretty alive. And if you don't appreciate that, that's fine. You can argue that it looks so much like a Furby and Gizmo from Gremlins and a bunch of other things that it's not quite original. I could understand that. I could understand as well that you weren't convinced that it was really there or anything like that. Okay, yeah. But this isn't bad effects for television. Hell, this would be decent for fucking cinema in this day and age. I'm sorry, but with the amount of work that special effects artists are allowed to put into cinema nowadays, yeah, I'd be impressed with this in a movie.
Those boxes in the effects department aren't
He also doesn't show it moving or anything, because if he shows it moving, then we'll have to address the fact that it looks decent when it moves.
we, Russell? Non-gender descript furry thing is being hunted by monsters, so
It's kind of funny because actually it actually has a specific set of pronouns, which I'm sure he's going to be happy about.
white dudes. Then we meet up with the bug-eyed things, and I think, dear God, they're hunting non-gender descript furry thing. Good luck, bug-eyed dudes. Those costumes don't seem to move very well. Then Dr.
They move fine. I don't understand where he's getting this from. It's like he only sees bad effects in stuff he doesn't like, but they move fine. Like, if anything, the production value between this and the Chibnall era is like leaps and bounds. It looks so much better than it did in the Chibnall era.
Desperation, who looks bored out of his mind, meets up with Wheelchair Lady, and she is the most awesomest scientific advisor ever. Dr. Desperation is worried.
I like how he's written this character off before he even saw her. She turns up in a wheelchair. Yep, she's crap. And it's like, you know, she has like character stuff going for her. She's not that bad of a character. She's just been introduced. But honestly, I don't think she's a bad character. Like, not on a beyond like what I've seen. I don't think there's anything particularly bad about this character. I don't think I'm going to have a poster on my wall anytime soon, but I don't think she's a shit character.
About Donna's head blowing up. Well, at least that would make this even the slightest bit interesting. Then
Yeah, but then the episode would basically be over because the episode is about Donna. In fact, the whole arc is about Donna.
Wheelchair Lady tells Dr. Desperation to go away because she can handle things better than him because she's the bestest of all. Then
I think we saw two different scenes. I don't remember that happening.
the white soldier dude apologizes for the stairs, and Wheelchair Lady gets pissy. Then the unit.
I mean, the joke was that he was trying to be sensitive and came across as no, never mind, whatever.
White dudes and ladies get brain scanned, and now they're evil, so everything makes sense again. Next,
What? That's where he was going with this? They get possessed by an alien force thing. Like an alien thing. I don't know what you call it. It's like an alien, like, it's not gas, it's like an energy that takes over them. But because they're white, I guess there's some weird agenda. You see, I just watched this show and I'm like, okay, the soldiers got possessed. He's like, oh, the white dudes got possessed because Russell is doing this gay agenda thing. And I'm like, what is wrong with this man? Alright.
Winks doesn't take out the bins because them's too good for that and has a discussion with non-gendered.
You just saw, quote unquote, Tiddlywinks take out the bins. You were complaining about it.
The script furry thing about how misunderstood and how differently special she is. Gee, Russell, whatever could you be getting at there? So subtle, dude.
That's like.
Non-gender descript furry thing wants to go home. That's the feeling for most of us non-gender descript furry thing.
Well, A, you were in your home whilst watching this, presumably, in which case, whose house did you break into to watch this? And B, you had the option to just walk away. At no point, you were not held at gunpoint, presumably, to watch this. So, assumedly, you could have just walked away at any time but chose not to, despite the fact that this clearly isn't for you. I'm not even saying that because you're a Nazi. You clearly do not like this show. That's like me with that time when everyone told me My Little Pony was the best thing ever. So I watched an episode and didn't think much of it. I think I watched like two or three just in case I got a bad episode, because that can happen sometimes. You can just by a chance stumble on a bad episode as your first episode. So I gave 3 episodes a chance. Some were better than others, but ultimately it just wasn't for me. So you know what I did? I made video after video about how I hate My Little Pony for fucking years and acted like I have to watch that show. No, actually, no, I didn't, because that's fucking stupid. I just didn't watch it anymore.
And Donna discovers non-gender descript furry thing and is horrified. Yeah, Donna, I know, but this is the best they could do. Then Dr. Desperation.
I don't quite understand, I don't quite understand its point that it's a bad effect when it's like, it's not a bad effect. It's really not. Like, it's at the very least on par with the decent effects of the previous seasons.
Shows up and Donna's mom clocks him right in the mouth. Take that, you evil patriarchal bastard.
It's a recurring joke because every single one of the Doctor's companions in the Russell T Davies era slapped him at some point or another, and Sylvia slapped him because he's put his daughter in danger, her daughter in danger, which is a fair thing to. Well, it's not a fair thing to do, but it is a fair thing in the script that is understandable.
Then Dad shows up and he seems completely unfazed by non-gender descript furry thing, and I think, man, this dude's seen some crap.
What do you mean, not phased? He literally is lost for words because he doesn't understand why a man he met in London is there, why there's a fucking gizmo Furby, and why there's just his whole family just stood around the kitchen with weird shit going on.
And Major Singh is here to keep white army dudes in line, but they tell him to get lost and he does.
Yeah, because they're his superior or something. I can't remember why, but basically he's told that his superior wants him to go away.
And we reminisce about Wilf, and I get sad when I realize appearing in this mess was Bernard Cribbin's final performance. Then Dr. Desperation.
Why? Even if it wasn't a good episode or a good set of episodes, can I point out the fact that Bernard Cribbin's last performance was as one of his most beloved characters in a show that he loved doing in a special event episode? Even if it didn't work out as an episode, which it did, but let's pretend it didn't, that would still be a lot. Like, Alistair Lethbridge Stewart's final mention in, well, it's not his final mention, but it is his, like, it's the bit where he dies in the show as well as in real life. It's actually quite a moving part of the episode, even though I don't think much of the the wedding of River Song, or the one before it. I can't remember what it was called. I didn't like that episode, that series, that arc that much, but I do appreciate the fact that his death is not only brought up as a thing, but it's also an important part of the plot. It's the moment where the Doctor grows up. The actor's death is so impactful that it affects the show. And it's the same with Bernard Cribbins in this. This is his final performance. And even just the thought that he's dead actually makes the Doctor genuinely emotional. And then they realise he's not dead, he's just in a retirement home, which sadly the actor's no longer with us now. He passed away not long after this was filmed. But I don't understand why you'd have that. It's a bit of a shitty stance to have. You don't know Bernard's opinion of this.
Makes the mistake of assuming non-gender descript furry thing's gender, and Tiddlywinks lets him have it. No, I didn't make that.
Yeah, it's kind of the joke because she's the only one who'd think of that in the room. And the Doctor, being the Doctor, actually agrees. And he's like, yeah, well, I don't have a set gender, so why do I assume everybody else does?
Up. That's an actual scene. Non-gender descript furry thing says its pronouns is the or the. And I find myself in...
No, its pronouns are meep. Its pronoun is literally meep. The meep. As in, the meep goes to the shop. The meep, instead of he, it's the meep. That's literally just its pronouns. Because I'm assuming it doesn't have a concept of gender, so it just sort of, I don't know. I mean, it's an alien. It's kind of a brave thing to assume that every alien has a concept of male and female when there are creatures under the sea that don't. Like, that's not even a quote-unquote woke stance, that's just biological fact. There are creatures on this planet that do not conform to the binary gender system. So space aliens, I think it's more than possible that some just don't. I could totally buy that. I mean, in sport, all of my creations had both genitals because I thought, well, you know what? Now they can breed with themselves and create an endless army. If God was on the ball, he would have done that for humans.
Disbelief at the over-the-top pandering. It seems the alien things want the non-gender descript furry things fur. Oh dear. Then white evil military dudes show up and start being toxic.
I'm not going to talk about that part because he's probably going to talk about where it comes in later.
Then we get more boom boom explosions as
Okay, just refresh the recording. Let's go.
Donna's house blows up. Well, perhaps you shouldn't have given that 166 million pounds for stupid plot points. Now, don't you feel like an idiot? Dr. Desperation then starts creating shields with a sonic screwdriver because apparently it does that now.
To be fair, I will give him this. That feature was introduced for this scene. And I do think that it kind of came out of nowhere. There was no setup or build up. The previous episode, this was not a thing. And it just suddenly felt like he can do that now. I know he's got a new screwdriver, but I don't know why he can suddenly make force fields with it. That is a bit, it's a bit of a new one. I have to admit, it's a new one, and it just sort of comes out of nowhere, and it makes this situation a bit too easy.
I can think of several times in the past where this might have helped, dude. Then Bug-Eyed Dude.
Probably why he added it as a feature, to be fair. I know that in the Moffat era, one thing I always found a bit odd was that in Silence of the Library, which was also written by Moffat, Moffat had a screwdriver that worked on deadlocks. And then for some reason, the screwdriver he gave to River Song worked on deadlocks, but the ones that came after it don't. So why did he give the one that... Why did he not include that? Did he just think it made things too easy? I don't know.
Dudes march down the street while stuff is on fire because, once again, Russell is incapable of original thought unless it has to do with current yearisms. Boom.
What? So he can't use fire ever again now? So what happens when he's having a shootout scene like this? Things can't be on fire?
Boom boom explosions, yo. Then they escape through the house of a lazy white dude, representative of the plebs because Russell...
They didn't say he was lazy, he's just tired. There's literally nothing about this character at all that's mentioned. He's not mentioned as lazy, he's just asleep, presumably after a long day of work.
Couldn't help himself. Then blowy blowy boom boom. Then Dr. Desperation teleports.
I'm amazed he didn't point out the fact that when they shoot at the taxi, it doesn't explode, but the empty cars do explode. This is explained in the plot, but me and my girlfriend were kind of like, I hope that's explained, because that's a bit bullshit if not.
The Bug-Eyed Dudes for trial. Then we learn that the Bug-Eyed Dudes weren't the bad guys at all. Guess that means we won't be seeing the white soldier guys and gals again. But then, the white soldier guys and gals are serving non-gender descript furry thing, so everything makes sense again. Then we learn...
Why did he add that admonishing point then? I don't understand.
That non-gender descript furry thing is actually the villain, as Russell proceeds with self-wankery, thinking of how clever he is. Then things get...
I have to admit, it's probably not the most brilliant of twists. I did consider that that was likely the where it was going, basically. It was either that or it's all a misunderstanding. I don't know which. I didn't know which right up until a certain point where I'm like, okay, why did the thing's ship possess people if the thing's not evil? That's a bit much for a misunderstanding episode. It turns out that it wasn't. But to be fair, Demons of the Punjab was a misunderstanding episode, and that really had several points in it where it was not a misunderstanding, right up until the point where it was. So yeah, I don't understand why he's riling on this plot point, though, the way that it's a bit predictable, but the story makes sense. It works.
Silly. Then, non-gender descript furry thing refers to Tiddlywinks as Donna's weird child. So we get the point that it's evil. Then Dr. Desperation starts to blather on, and they knock him unconscious because that's enough from you, you white patriarchal bastard! Then...
Well, actually, it's because he's trying to convince the evil creature to basically fuck itself over, and it knows that he is, so it just knocks him out.
Donna starts to regret giving away her money for virtue signaling purposes. Well, you made the idiotic decision, so now you live with it. Dr. Desperation
I mean, she does. She just says she regrets it. Like,
decides to name non-gender-descript furry thing ship the Delusions of Grandeur, as Russell unknowingly projects himself onto non-gender-descript furry thing.
it's called the Delusions of Grandeur because it's made out of steel and is not likely to even reach orbit. But then he reveals that he can reach orbit. He's just got to sacrifice most of London to burn it as fuel to do so. This show's too much for him. Maybe we should watch something for younger audiences.
Non-gender-descript furry thing has to destroy London to power up its ship, and Russell continues his old plots. Then Wheelchair Lady...
I don't remember that ever being a plot. Like, I legit don't remember that being a plot. I remember London being threatened by several things and almost being destroyed in his era and in other eras, but I don't remember it being burnt for fuel so that a Furby could escape in a rocket. That one's not been done before.
Shoots darts out of her wheelchair, then shoots rockets out of her wheelchair. Then white dudes start chanting "Hail
Why did he just mention that as a plot point, but like...
to the non-gender-descript furry thing."
Yeah, he's not mentioned why that's even worth mentioning. Why did he mention that? Like, it sounded like he had some criticism and he just didn't. Is it me or does this guy sound like Rex from Toy Story? But like, angry.
Then Dr. Desperation and Donna get trapped in the control room and end up separated because, again, originality. Then
No, it's because this thing started to come down that divided the control room and the Doctor needed to go on either side of it, and then eventually he got separated from Donna by this glass window thing that came down. And they get divided because if they didn't get divided, then the Doctor wouldn't have been able to do as much as he did towards stopping the rocket from launching.
dagger drive gets activated, and we have more boom boom explosion blow.
Why did he say dagger drive like that's dumb? It's literally called a dagger drive because a giant piece of metal comes out the bottom of the ship that resembles a dagger and it stabs the Earth.
Blowy boom booms. And oh no,
Why is he getting angry because like things are blowing up? Isn't that like the stakes? What does he want the stakes to be? I'm pretty sure that no matter what the stakes were, if everyone fainted, he'd say, "Oh, they've done that before." If everyone like, I don't know, started to turn into fat blobby monsters again, he'd get mad at that. He can't win.
Donna needs to get the memories back that will kill her to save the day, and Dr. Desperation attempts to yell with conviction, and the attempt just makes me sad. He gives Donna
It's literally the same performance quality he gave in The End of Time. Like, literally the same thing, except he actually has grown, so what he says is, well, it is a bit more grown up than what he said back then, because it's been several thousand years since then.
her memory back. Donna dies, but then doesn't die because it seems that Tiddlywinks was the center of the universe all along. Non-gender descript.
You're an idiot, you really are. The whole reason why, quote-unquote, Tiddlywinks is important as to why Donna isn't burnt up by the meta crisis is because the meta crisis is passed down to her biological child that she had, which basically means that now this isn't going to make sense to anyone who's not watched season 4, but I'm just going to say it anyway. The thing that was going to kill Donna is now partly within her child, so it's not as deadly to her anymore, and it buys them some time. This is something that was overlooked by the Doctor because he never considered that this was a possibility.
Furry Thing's plan to launch its spaceship has failed. Oh no! Now let's quote some lines. Binary, non-binary, we're binary, she's not, because the Doctor's male and female, and neither, and more. Yep, those lines were said. Then
I mean, it made sense in the context of the fucking thing that the reason why she's trans is because she's part Time Lord, but also because, I mean, admittedly it is a bit much, but at the same time, it makes sense in context. Because the reason why the character's trans is because she's part Time Lord, in theory, and also because... Where was I going with it? Oh yeah, sorry, my brain's melting from the shit review. Donna's final words as she was losing her shit was binary because she was talking about fixing the chameleon circuit. And then it occurs to her that while she's saying that, she's thinking of her daughter who's transitioning or transitioned or whatever. And that makes her think, oh, I get it now because of this, this, and this. Sorry, it's kind of hard to explain without talking too much about it, but basically the gist of it is it makes sense that the three of them are able to do what the two of them were not. And it explains a bit about Rose's character because there's a piece of the Doctor in her which makes, and because the Doctor's gender is fluid by definition, because he's capable of being either, it kind of works.
Gender descript furry thing gets sent off to prison and mentions the
Its pronouns are meep. I wish you'd stop misgendering it.
boss. Oh, whatever could this mean? Let me pretend to care. Then Dr. Desperation tells Donna and Tiddlywinks that they have to give up their metacrisis silliness, and here's some more lines that were actually uttered by Donna and Tiddlywinks. We know everything, and you know nothing. It's a shame that you're not a woman anymore because she'd have understood. We've got all the power, but there is a way to get rid of it. Something a male presenting Time Lord will never understand. Just
I don't think he's quoted it quite too well there, but yeah, this part was actually something that made me raise an eyebrow, mainly because the episode ends with this, and well, it doesn't end, but it's like the whole arc ends, which has been going on for 15 years basically on hold, and they're like, "Oh, you don't get it because you're a man." Well, he wasn't a man 20 seconds ago. Also, you established that the Doctor's non-binary, so okay. But also, the bit that I find really comical is the fact that because we're women, we can let this shit go, and then they release the meta crisis. What I find a bit silly about this is, have you met women like in your life? Like, not as a generalization thing, although they're generalizing, so I might as well. But no, I have so many women family members who, I shit you not, have been giving people the silent treatment because of shit that was said or done in 1973. My grandparents could not get along with their neighbours at all because my grandmother would always find some fucking reason to fall out with them and never speak with them again. I have an aunt who has blocked and deleted the numbers of and refuses to deal with a number of electricians, builders, plumbers, and whatever because they've offended her in some way, usually by saying a joke which she just didn't appreciate. Letting go is not biologically hardwired into women like this scene implies it is. And it is just really desperately trying to make the girls go, yeah, that's us. But no, even the women who watch this were like, what the fuck are you talking about? Women are not biologically wired to let things go. They're not biologically wired to not let things go. It's a character trait of the individual. And it also doesn't make sense that they're rubbing it in the Doctor's face when the Doctor was a woman literally like hours before this episode, like continuity wise. And they established that he's never fully a man or a woman because he's capable of being both. It's baffling to me. I don't get it.
let it go, and we choose to let it go. Good Lord! Then Dr. Desperation and Donna
I will give him one thing, that scene, that line of dialogue is really dumb.
head to the new TARDIS, which immediately gets boom boom, explosion, blowy blowy boom booms. I don't know if I'm going to cover the rest of these because this was just painful.
He doesn't explain why. It's kind of a joke because Donna gets coffee in the machine because the time machine now has a coffee maker in it, which the Doctor's baffled by and is really impressed. And because Donna is Donna, she accidentally spills coffee on the time machine and it blows up, which is pretty funny. My girlfriend and I literally burst out laughing at just the fact that she accidentally threw coffee on the fucking time machine seconds after getting into it. It's quite relatable as a thing for that kind of character. It exploding is not really a new thing. I don't quite get. Whatever.
To sit through. We shall see. But that
Why was this so hard to sit through? I don't understand. Why? worst, you could say it's a pretty average, not very good episode or whatever. The idea that you're saying this is excruciating or whatever is just like, it baffles me. I don't get it.
That's it for today. Don't forget to come yell at me on Elon's busted Twitter, and until next time, suck it.
So yeah, that was the end of Doctor Who's neo-Nazi fans fucking awful review of Star Beast, which honestly I think he would have made a better review had he not even watched the episode. Oh wow, there's a lot of dumb shit. Yeah, so this guy has, when he made the Demons of the Punjab review, he actually had an opening for that review where he literally quoted Nazi rhetoric. There's no denying that his whole thing with this is he just does not like the fact that there are um, people of color and people who are not straight white men. He's always angry that the straight white men are on screen, but then he's angry when they're not on screen. This guy has gone down a rabbit hole, which I find so baffling because. Wait, when was this? This was 10th Doctor. Did you even watch the episode? He's the 14th. Sorry. Uh, what I find kind of funny though is this guy literally tortures himself watching a show he hasn't liked for years, and I don't get it. I really don't get. I don't get his approach to covering the show. I don't get why he makes content. It's not like he's gone back to this after years of doing other things. Literally, all he covers is Doctor Who shit. Doctor Who, Doctor Who, Doctor Who, Doctor Who. There's never been a point. Oh, there's Pirates of the Caribbean. There's Batwoman and some other things. When was the last thing he covered something though that wasn't? There. Disney. Mandalorian stuff. That was 2 years ago. But apparently he hates the show so much he doesn't want to talk about it, except for the fact that he's constantly talking about it. I don't quite understand. I didn't do a review on the Centenary Special. Okay. But yeah. Yeah, this guy he has so many cases in several of his other videos where he's just constantly going. Oh, sorry, no, he did a review of the Marvels or something, or news on the Marvels. My mistake. I apologize. To be fair, outside of that one video 2 weeks ago, 6 minutes and 30 seconds of talking about the Marvels, he's not made anything in 2 years that's not Doctor Who, from what I can tell. Okay. I wonder though, like, was there ever a time where this guy had positive things to say about Doctor Who? 12 years ago, look at the variety of content he came out with. Unboxing videos. But yeah, this guy has a long history of saying things which kind of expose. Yeah, 10 years since the triumphant return of Doctor Who. His mindset. He has this very fascist mindset when it comes to Doctor Who and Doctor Who stuff. And just stuff in general. The dude has gone long off the deep end, and it's kind of sad. This guy isn't unique, not just in Doctor Who, but in life. I find that there are a lot of people who would just have this bizarre blinder on that stop them from seeing anything but this bizarre ideal which has been pumped into them by something or someone or something somewhere. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about how this shit is baffling to me as a thing, especially with the 60th anniversary. The hatred that went towards um, Shooty Gatwa, and honestly, this has been going on for years. Freema Agyeman apparently had people who were angry because a black woman was like the main companion and stuff like that. I find it a baffling thing that people can watch this, a show about what it's about, and just have completely the opposite ideals towards what it stands for. I don't get it. I don't understand why people watch a show that is clearly not for them, and why we're apparently at a point now where there are just some people in this world that are just going down this whirling toilet whirlpool thing. Whirling with toilet whirlpool thing. Wow, put that on a fucking t-shirt. This fucking spiraling whirlpool akin to that you'd find in one of those toilets in the olden days, where people just are just falling into this weird right-wing rhetoric which doesn't, they can't even understand where it comes from. It's just hatred that came from just somewhere. I'm assuming Twitter and places like that. I personally avoid the shit out of Twitter. Maybe that's why I've not fallen down that fucking hole. But I just find it baffling. I find it baffling that these people make themselves so miserable and just see shit everywhere they go that nobody else on the planet was seeing up until like 2016 or so at the earliest. And now everyone is falling to it. I don't understand. Anyway, I've babbled enough. That's the end of that shit. I'm gonna be honest. This guy, I don't know if I'll ever cover him again, but I do really like how awfully stupid his content is. And I wouldn't mind covering some other dumb shit. Maybe if he covers any more of this series, I might talk more about these, because this guy is on par with Kim Walker as far as batshit insanity goes. Anyway, toodles.
Professor Curious is okay.